Gotta keep pushing forward. No stopping now.
We speak of war as an algorithm of logistics, a grim chess game played by remote commanders. We speak of technological triumph, of precision strikes and antiseptic distances. But strip away the veneer of digital spectacle, peel back the layers of satellite surveillance, and the truth reveals itself. A primal, enduring horror, resurrecting the ghosts of history in the fields of the present day. This is the unholy geometry of mud and steel. This is the trench.
The trench is not merely a defensive line. It is a grave dug in advance. A scar carved deep into the Earth's surface. A claustrophobic, reeking sanctuary from the sky's incessant wrath. It is where modernity collapses, where the soldier descends into an existence defined solely by vertical walls of packed soil, the texture of damp fear, and the omnipresent, suffocating certainty of randomized death. Imagine the sound first.
Not the explosive climax, but the bass undertone, the endless, grinding rumble of artillery, a subterranean god clearing its throat, vibrating through the soles of your boots, up your spine, settling in your teeth. This sound never stops. It is the metronome of annihilation. It dictates every breath, every hurried glance skyward, every desperate dash across the duckboards, slippery with muck and often blood. The environment itself is an enemy, the mud.
It is not the benign, earthy substance of a farmer's field. This is liquid despair. It is thick, viscous, swallowing boots, dragging down equipment, clinging like a shroud. It is mixed with cordite, diesel, human waste, and the finely granulated remnants of those who stood there minutes, hours, or days before. Trench foot is a gentle precursor. The mud is a psychological weapon, transforming mobility into a desperate, exhausting struggle, rendering every forward step a monumental act of will against gravity and decay. We are forced to confront the impossible duality of this subterranean reality, the absolute need for vigilance paired with the crushing imperative of inertia. To move is to invite scrutiny, yet to stay still is to become a static target for the calculated fury of the mortars above. The soldier is suspended in a paradox, inhabiting a world where stillness and movement both carry the same terminal consequence. The light never reaches the bottom of the soul here. During the day, the sky is a hostile dome, occasionally glimpsed through jagged sandbag parapets. At night, the darkness is absolute, broken only by the shivering, artificial glare of flares, magnesium suns briefly illuminating no man's land, a landscape of skeletal trees and churned earth, resembling a planet that died violently before life could properly begin. But the real darkness is internal. The unrelenting stress of proximity. In the trench, there are no private moments, no shielded spaces. You eat, sleep, and wait for death, inches from your comrades. The collective fear becomes a palpable entity, a heavy gas settling in the lowest points of the ditch. You learn the intimate rituals of suffering, the nervous twitch of the rifleman next to you, the silent, vacant stare of the medic processing the latest casualty, the forced, brittle humor that momentarily shields the raw terror lurking beneath the surface. Modern trench warfare has merely perfected the efficiency of misery.
The precision artillery of today does not rely on brute saturation. It seeks out the chinks in the armor, the weak points in the dugout roof. A barrage is less a storm and more a surgical dismemberment of defensive structure, followed by the gruesome infantry sweep, the harrowing close-quarters combat that shatters all romantic notions of valor. The assault is perhaps the most defining act of this specific hell.
The whistle blows, or the radio crackles with the command, and the body must override every instinct honed by civilization. Emerging from the relative safety of the earth is akin to being born directly into fire. The climb out is a transition from the damp gloom into blinding chaos. The machine guns open their metallic, rhythmic roar, turning the air into a solid wall of supersonic lead. Every yard gained is paid for in units of human life, measured not in strategy, but in agony.
The enemy is rarely seen clearly. They are phantoms of sound, flashes of muzzle flare, coordinates relayed through encrypted digital chatter. But their impact is undeniable, visceral. The soldier does not fight a philosophical entity. He fights the effect of the enemy's hardware. The shattering percussion of an RPG hitting the embankment, the sickly sweet smell of burning plastic and explosives, the instantaneous shift from tense waiting to immediate, brutal triage.
The dugouts. These are the final sanctuaries, temporary vaults against oblivion. Cramped, fetid, and structurally tenuous, they are places where men seek brief reprieve, huddled against the cold, damp concrete or wood, listening to the earth above them being systematically pulverized. Here, conversations turn morbidly existential, or retreat into the trivialities of home, a desperate attempt to anchor the mind to a reality that seems impossibly distant.
Consider the role of technology: drones, thermal optics, sophisticated communication suites. These tools, designed to grant clarity and mastery, paradoxically only amplify the feeling of exposure. The soldier knows with chilling certainty that the enemy is watching him even when he cannot see them. The battlefield is illuminated not just by flares, but by the cold, impartial eye of the infrared camera, rendering camouflage obsolete, stripping away the comfort of concealment.
Every moment is monitored, every movement logged. The trenches of today are sealed systems of surveillance and calculated destruction. Yet amidst this systemic breakdown of human decency and environmental sanity, resilience asserts itself. Not as grand heroism, but as stubborn, infinitesimal persistence. It is the sharing of a cold ration, the careful taping of a comrade's wound under fire, the silent agreement to hold the line for just one more hour, one more minute. Survival becomes a collective endeavor, a fragile bubble of humanity maintained against the deluge of mechanized violence. The men who emerge from this underground nightmare are fundamentally recast. They carry the dust of the deep trenches in their lungs, the ceaseless thrum of the bombardment in their inner ear, and the indelible images of shared mortality etched behind their eyes. They have witnessed the unthinkable resurrection of a warfare mode history swore it had buried beneath the Somme.
The modern trench is a stark, terrifying monument to the failure of peace, a raw, exposed nerve of human conflict. It proves that despite centuries of advancement, when the stakes are ultimate, man inevitably retreats to the earth, creating his own confined, muddy hell. And in that hell, the fight for survival is less about winning territory and more about retaining the smallest fraction of self, awaiting the uncertain promise of dawn.
The war is fought not across miles, but across the few fragile inches separating the living from the mud. This is the reality. This is hell underground.